surprised by the evidence that's already coming out in the criminal trial?
No, I'm not surprised.
What if Tupac never lost in Vegas, but won the biggest game of his life? For almost 30 years, the world believed the official story. 4 shots on the strip, 6 days in the hospital, and the most legendary rapper of all time gone forever. But now, as Diddy's empire crumbles under federal raids and RICO charges, a darker question is exploding. Did Diddy really take down Tupac, or did Tupac set him up from the very start? Because here's the bombshell. Whispers say Pac didn't just fake his end. He flipped the script, vanished into exile, and left his greatest rival holding the bag. And now, with Diddy dragged into courtrooms and accused of running a criminal empire, the conspiracy that fans once dismissed as fantasy suddenly feels like the biggest plot twist in music history. If this theory is true, Diddy isn't just losing his legacy. He's been outplayed for decades in the longest, coldest revenge play hip-hop has ever seen. The crumbling throne? Sean Diddy Combs once ruled hip-hop like a king who could never be touched. The bad boy mogul had it all: money, power, influence, and an iron grip on an industry that revolved around his name. But that empire is cracking in real time. And the fall is uglier than anyone could have imagined. Federal agents raiding his mansions, private jets grounded, headlines screaming about trafficking rings and secret tapes. Lawyers scrambling in every direction as millions bleed out of his accounts just to keep the walls from collapsing. In the courtroom, prosecutors paint Diddy as more than just a reckless celebrity. They call him the leader of a criminal enterprise, a man who built his empire on fear, manipulation, and cover-ups. And the craziest part? This isn't just another celebrity scandal. It feels like the end of an era, the unraveling of a man who once looked untouchable. Every time his defense team tries to spin the narrative, a new witness flips, another lawsuit drops, another raid pulls something out of the shadows. The world thought Diddy was writing the story. Now it looks like he's just a character in someone else's play. And if the whispers are true, that Tupac himself engineered this downfall, then the trial we're watching isn't just about Diddy losing his crown. It's about the greatest revenge in hip-hop finally coming full circle. Vegas, 1996, the night that won't die. September 7th, 1996, Las Vegas, the night that was supposed to be the end of Tupac Shakur. 4 bullets fired into a black BMW on the strip. Crowds of Tyson fans nearby. Police swarming the scene. And yet the world was told one story. Tupac was rushed to a hospital and died 6 days later. Case closed. Except, nothing about that night really adds up. The official coroner's report claimed Tupac stood 6 feet tall and weighed 215 pounds. Numbers anyone who ever saw him knew were flat out wrong. He was 5 feet 10, maybe 170 on his best day. The autopsy photo? Grainy, awkward, and instantly doubted by fans who swore it didn't even look like him. The cremation? Done almost overnight by a mortician who allegedly retired the very next day, pockets full of cash, never to be heard from again. And here's the kicker. Where was Tupac's bulletproof vest? The one he wore religiously, especially when traveling in public? Why did Suge Knight, sitting inches away in the driver's seat, walk away with barely a scratch after more than a dozen shots tore through the car? And how is it possible that on a night packed with thousands of tourists, not a single clear eyewitness saw the supposed getaway? To the public, it was tragedy. But to those paying attention, it was something else entirely. The start of a mystery that's refused to die for almost 30 years. Because the deeper you dig, the more that official story starts to look like a script written to cover up something much bigger. Havana whispers and the escape plot. If Vegas was the beginning of the mystery, then Cuba is where the story explodes. For years, whispers have circled that Tupac didn't die in that hospital at all. Instead, he vanished into exile, hidden, protected, and possibly plotting his greatest comeback. The theory always points in one direction. Havana, enter Michael Nice, a self-proclaimed operative with ties to the Black Panthers, the same movement that shaped Tupac's mother and family. Nice claimed he was part of the team that pulled off the ultimate switch. According to him, hospital officials were bribed, a look-alike was swapped in, and Tupac was smuggled out under everyone's noses. Nice swore he was on the plane himself, Tupac riding co-pilot, flanked by Panthers as the jet took off. The first stop, Barbados. The final destination, Cuba, where Tupac's aunt, Assata Shakur, had already been living in exile under Castro's protection. But here's where it gets even darker. Just as Michael Nice promised he would release proof to back his story, He turned up dead, found mysteriously deceased before anyone could see the evidence he claimed would silence the skeptics forever. Coincidence? Maybe. But in the world of hip-hop conspiracies, timing like that isn't brushed off so easily. And the sightings didn't stop. Locals in Havana swear they've seen Tupac walking the streets. Grainy photos and shaky videos pop up every few years, sometimes dismissed as lookalikes, other times fueling viral speculation. One even showed him supposedly posing with Beyoncé, a photo most call fake, but one that still keeps the rumor alive. Pac in exile, aging, but still out there. If you believe Michael Nice, Tupac wasn't silenced in Vegas. He escaped, and the greatest cover story in music history was born that night. The cleanup crew and vanishing evidence. Every great mystery leaves behind a trail of loose ends. But when it comes to Tupac's case, those loose ends don't just vanish. They disappear like someone is sweeping the board clean. Start with the hospital staff. Rumors swirl that fat envelopes of cash changed hands the night Pac was rushed in. Nurses and doctors supposedly looked the other way, while critical details about his condition were never recorded properly. Then there's the coroner. The man who signed off on the autopsy reportedly left his job right after, moving out of state with no forwarding address. Paramedics who worked that night gave interviews years later, but their memories were full of holes. Some forgot basic details, others claimed they were too stressed to remember. A few even skipped town altogether. And it doesn't stop there. Whispers of a cleanup crew around Diddy have haunted this story for decades. Insiders claim their job was simple: erase anything that didn't fit the narrative, cover tracks, pay off witnesses, and make sure no inconvenient truths ever reach the public. A hospital worker suddenly cashing out, a mortician retiring overnight, paramedics taking suspicious vacations right after the shooting. Coincidence? Or choreography? The deeper you look, the more it feels like the aftermath of Vegas wasn't chaos at all, it was control. A carefully managed operation designed to tie up every loose end before anyone started asking the wrong questions. And yet, no matter how much evidence disappeared, the rumors didn't die. They only grew stronger. Which brings us to one man who's never stayed quiet for long: Suge Knight. Suge Knight's cryptic role. If anyone knows the truth about that night in Vegas, it's the man who was sitting inches away when the bullets flew. Marion, Suge Knight. And yet, nearly 3 decades later, his story still doesn't add up. Think about it. 14 shots ripped through the BMW, but Suge walked away with nothing more than a graze. How is that possible? Was he just lucky? Or was the hail of gunfire never meant for him in the first place? Some believe Suge was protected, others say he was part of the plan. The perfect decoy to make the world believe Tupac was gone. Suge himself has only fueled the fire. In interviews, he's dropped cryptic hints, famously telling TMZ, "Pac ain't gone." Why you think nobody's been arrested? If he was really dead, they'd have locked somebody up a long time ago. Inside prison walls, he's reportedly hinted that Tupac told him about the plan to disappear before that Vegas night ever happened. But here's the chilling question. Was Suge in on it? Or was he left in the dark? Just another pawn in a game bigger than even death row records. His words are always laced with just enough truth to keep the conspiracy alive, but never enough to close the case. Every time new suspects surface, every time another witness flips, Suge finds a way to insert himself back into the conversation, fanning the flames without ever giving the full story. Whether he was an accomplice or just collateral, Suge's role is a shadow that hangs over this mystery. Because if he knew the plan and played along, it means the conspiracy isn't just rumor. It means Tupac's escape was bigger, deeper, and more orchestrated than anyone wants to admit. And if that's true, then Diddy wasn't the mastermind in this story. He was the mark, ghost label, and money trails. If Tupac really did vanish, then the next question is obvious. How did he survive in hiding for almost 3 decades? The answer, according to some insiders, is as bold as it is chilling. He may have been feeding off Diddy's own empire the entire time. Whispers in the industry claim that for years, mysterious funds have trickled out of bad boy affiliated companies, hidden royalties, untraceable wire transfers, even hush-hush advances that never match the official books. It's a pattern so small it slipped under the radar, but persistent enough to spark suspicion. Where did all that money go? The wildest theory is that it funded Tupac's ghost label, an underground operation designed to bankroll his life in exile, funnel unreleased tracks into hidden archives, and maybe even bankroll the movement waiting for the perfect moment to rise. 3 former bad boy executives, speaking off the record, admitted they'd heard the rumors of coded contracts and anonymous releases tied to Pac's camp. Some even swear unfinished verses have quietly slipped into the hands of producers overseas, waiting for the day he decides to resurface. It sounds like a plot ripped straight out of a thriller, but when you line it up next to Diddy's current legal freefall, the story starts to make twisted sense. Could Tupac have not only escaped his fate in Vegas, but also set up his greatest rival to bankroll his revenge without even knowing it? If that's true, then Diddy's courtroom collapse isn't just about his own scandals. It's the final act of a game he's been losing for nearly 30 years. And that game is about to reach its breaking point. The trial that changed everything. The courtroom was supposed to be where Diddy defended his reputation. Instead, it's become the stage where his empire unravels in front of the world. What started as whispers about wild parties and shady deals has turned into a federal case that reads like a mob takedown. RICO charges, trafficking allegations, witnesses painting a picture of blackmail, secret footage, and money that vanished as quickly as it was made. Prosecutors aren't just calling Diddy reckless. They're calling him the head of a criminal enterprise, a man who ran his empire like a syndicate. Every day in court, the walls close in tighter. Former insiders flip. Old allies distance themselves. Raids uncover more than lawyers can spin. And with every headline, the same shadow reappears. Tupac, the name that refuses to stay buried. The ghost that prosecutors, fans, and even rivals keep circling back to. Because here's the nightmare scenario for Diddy. What if this trial doesn't just expose his alleged crimes? What if it unravels the biggest cover story in music history? What if Tupac isn't gone, but watching from the sidelines, waiting for the perfect moment to step back into the light? Imagine the fallout. Diddy stripped of everything, his empire in ruins, while the man he thought he buried emerges as the ultimate victor. It's not just scandal anymore. It's revenge, decades in the making. And if that's true, then this trial isn't just about one man's fall. It's about hip-hop history being rewritten right before our eyes. The shadow of a return. For almost 30 years, the world has debated one question. Is Tupac really gone? Or has he been pulling the strings from the shadows? Now, with Diddy's empire collapsing in courtrooms from New York to Los Angeles, that question feels more urgent than ever. If the whispers are true, if Tupac faked his end and left his greatest rival holding the bag, then hip-hop isn't just living through a scandal. It's on the brink of the greatest comeback in music history. One that could burn down everything built on lies, silence, and cover-ups. Picture it. Diddy stripped of his legacy, the industry scrambling to rewrite decades of history, and Tupac stepping back into the light with unreleased music, untold stories, and the ultimate proof that he outplayed everyone. It sounds impossible, until you realize how many loose ends, contradictions, and strange coincidences have kept this rumor alive for decades. Maybe the truth is that Tupac never left. Maybe he's been waiting, patient and ruthless, for the perfect moment to strike. And if that moment is now, then the trial we're watching isn't just the fall of Diddy. It's the setup for the most shocking return the world has ever seen. So the question isn't whether Tupac is alive. The question is, when will he show us?